Hey, what's going on YouTube? I wanted to start this video on Amazon looking at the actual product that I bought here. I wanted to provide a full end-to-end video from buying the product to delivery to then installation. I'm going to put the link to this product in the description, so if you do end up liking what you see, you can go ahead and purchase it. And I'm not getting paid by this company at all, so it's a very unbiased review. Now, with that being said, looking at the reviews of this attic ladder were not very good. I was kind of worried that I was going to get a ladder that was broken and missing bolts and not square, etc. Even though the stars were 4.2 or something like that, it just wasn't that great. But nothing could really beat the price point of $121 shipped. So that's what really sold me. However, I was looking at getting a aluminum attic ladder, which is on the screen now. So it is, $100 more, but it does look better build quality, the ladder being aluminum. However, the reviews on that ladder weren't great either. So I was didn't really know what to do, but not knowing if the aluminum ladder would be a good buy, I went ahead and purchased the cheaper unit. So both items I'll link in the description, so depending on what you like, you can take a look. One of the biggest problems was that many people complained that the item was delivered damaged. So I've actually got the video of it being delivered here, and you can see, at least in this small clip of the delivery process, you can see that he was pretty gentle with it, but I must say that he did leave the item in front of the door so we could barely get out of the house, but that's not a big deal. The item then did survive my girlfriend trying to drag it into the house, which is surprising. No, I'm just kidding, but yeah, this is just a little funny video of her trying to get that huge heavy attic ladder in the house. Now here is the actual attic ladder after we unboxed it and just giving it a once over for any damage. I did not see anything. Actually, it arrived basically perfect from what I could tell. Everything was there. Everything was straight. The corners weren't broken and they looked pretty square. You can see here with the close-up. And overall, it looks pretty good. Here's the back side with the very thin piece of wood. All of it looks good. No dents or anything missing. So I was pretty happy with it. Now here is my garage. As you can see, it's all open rafters, so I didn't have to deal with any cutting of the drywall, but nonetheless the process should still be the same. You really just got to figure out where you want to put it, and in my case I want to put it somewhere where I don't have to move cars around when I want to drop the ladder, and this towards the back is going to be the best place for that, since I won't have cars all the way against the back wall. Speaking of moving cars around, I actually need to move the 240 out of the way a little bit to give ourselves a bit more working room. So you can see here the car slides nice and easy on those skates. Alrighty, now let's start getting this attic ladder prepped for installation. So the first thing that you're going to have to do is take these brackets with these small nails and install them to the sides of the attic ladder. The one thing that you want to note here is that there will be a bracket on 3 of the 4 sides. So here on the one side it goes towards the end, and this is the side that opens at the bottom. And here are 2 brackets that go on the same panel, and right behind that piece of wood is actually the hinge that drops down, and that side requires the 2 brackets. Okay, so now we just need to take a measurement for the header board. So that's what I'm doing here, and grabbing a scrap piece of wood. Got a lot of them because of all the wood projects that's been going on lately. And now just transferring that measurement on over to the piece of wood. Now that we got the header board cut, I took a measurement of the length of the attic ladder, which is 54, shown here, and then drew a line where I wanted to install the header board. When I was taking this measurement, I took into account that I want, when you're walking up the attic ladder, to come out in the center of the attic. So that means that I had to offset the attic ladder just a little bit. If I was to center the attic ladder in the ceiling, then if you were to walk up the attic ladder, you would kind of be way more towards one side. It's a bit difficult for me to explain, but really just imagine that you want the hinge more towards the center or the peak of the garage, because that's kind of where you're walking up the ladder and you'll need the most space. Now just go ahead and get that header board screwed in. Now that the header board is installed, you take those brackets when you lift it up in the air and you fold them over the header board and the joists, and then nail them in for a temporary install. So the first test fit didn't really go as planned. If you remember that first measurement I took, it was around 22 inches. Well, this attic ladder is actually 22 and a half. And also I cut my header board a bit too short, which also pulled the rafters closer together. So I lengthened that a little bit to gain a little bit of extra space, and then it fit fine, but had to go through that little learning experience there. Nonetheless, the second attempt went a lot smoother. I would definitely suggest having two people. I don't know how you could do it with just one. Probably want three, because this was pretty tough to do, just us two. And then once we got it up there, we bent the flat strap around. I did end up putting screws in those just to make sure that it wasn't going to fall down. You can see on this one here, there is a screw put in it, just for extra security there. Now that it's in the ceiling, we can go ahead and start putting shims in so that it stays square. Now before I pulled the ladder down, I did screw 2 to 3 screws in the header board where it pivots, just like the instructions say to do. And then one thing to note here is that while I'm screwing in the sides of the frame of the ladder, I'm not standing on the actual ladder. It's still got quite a bit more work to do, trimming, etc., before I can stand on that. So I pulled over a different ladder, and I'm standing on that while I get it secured. Now we're at the point to trim the height of the ladder, or the bottom legs, to fit the height of the ceiling. And there's a few different ways to do this, but essentially what I'm going to do here is take a straight edge and measure that portion there as it was a continuation, transfer that measurement onto the leg I need to cut, and do that to the front and the back side of the ladder. I just watched some YouTube videos on how to do this. There are plenty out there, so I would recommend, if this isn't detailed enough, to just go check those out. And drew a line between the two and went ahead and lopped it off. Then of course transferred both of those measurements to each side of the attic ladder. Gave it a little sand to make sure it's nice and flat. And really you want that gap there to be as small as possible, if not no gap at all. I think there's a little gap there and I can probably do a little bit better, but you get the idea. And here it is touching the concrete. That gap there looks a bit big, but it's just because the side of it's beveled. You can see there that it's pretty flat against the concrete floor. Now we're looking at some 2x4s I added to the ceiling joist there. Basically just some extra strength where they come together on both sides. So cut those and screwed them in. And now we're really just looking at the overall finished product here, and now it's time for its first kind of half walk up the stairs. Now, although in this clip I only walk halfway up the ladder, I can assure you, since I actually filmed this, I've put in a full attic and I've gone up and down this ladder many times, and it works great. So hopefully you learned something from this video, and now you're confident enough that you can tackle this project on your own. And if you did, feel free to give a like. It really supports the channel. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye.